I worked on the other side of it in Somalia where the animals are getting smuggled from. And again, it comes down to money. The average Somali family lives on maybe $10 a month. They get $1,000 for a little spotted cat. It's hard to explain to that person, we need to conserve this animal. Because they're like, yeah, but I need to eat. My kids need to eat. As long as there's a financial gain to it, it's always going to be a big problem. The more that are getting smuggled, the less genetic diversity we've got. And that's with cheetahs, it's like, we're talking like a 1% survival rate on cubs. Because genetically, they're just so close. And that's where education comes in. Like, just blast this fact, like they're going to be gone.
Most people will never come face to face with a predator, hold a snake, or spend time around truly wild animals. And because of that, much of what we believe about them is shaped by fear, social media, or entertainment, rather than real understanding. But conservation is far more complicated than people realize. Behind the scenes are difficult ethical decisions, dangerous animals that demand constant respect, human-wildlife conflict, and people trying to balance education, conservation, and survival in a rapidly changing world. Today, I'm joined by conservationist and reptile specialist Lance Jeffery, whose work has taken him from reptiles and predators in South Africa to wildlife conservation projects internationally, and now the launch of his new conservation centre in Botha's Hill. In this conversation, we're talking about the realities of conservation, dangerous animals and social media, wildlife culture, exotic pets, fear and respect, and what people fundamentally misunderstand about the animals that they fear the most. Welcome, Lance. Welcome to the Pause and Vet podcast. Yeah, it's so cool. You've got your team here. Yeah. Tell my audience who you've got behind the scenes.
So I've got my lovely fiancée, Rebecca, who's with me through every step that we do. And then, we've got Amo. He's our student. He's becoming part of the furniture now. He's been here 5 months. But I think by the end of it, he's going to have around 7 years of studying with us done. But no PhD from the jungle boy.
No. Yeah. So welcome all of you. I mean, you're setting up an incredibly exciting new venture. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so we've just taken on a thing now. Obviously, I've worked in the zoological field all my life, and always just been, back a house zoo rat, picking up poops and stuff like that. And we've decided to take on our own conservation centre, where we're going to try and really focus it more on local stuff. I want everything to be both in English and Zulu. That's a big part of why Amo's here as well, is like growing up as a white guy in conservation, we've got so many different people that we can look up to. I want to make the first black Steve Irwin over there, someone that, and also just, I think it comes across so much better because we're conserving what we have here. And, so that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we can smash it all out there, just fundraising and things like that. But we're getting there slowly. So
what are the steps you've had to take? I mean, this is a big venture. You're talking about a cafe and education opportunities. What have you had to consider? So
luckily, I'm not really someone who thinks too much. I just generally dive in, and I think it's quite a good thing that I did with this because obviously financially it's so much more expensive than what I thought. I was like 100K, we're done. We've been there, done that. We're almost on the second one already, and we're still not really there. But it was more of I've traveled a lot my whole life. I've never really been home. It's Tanzania, Israel, Dubai, all over the place, just chasing animals. And I really, so the biggest thing for it, if I'm honest, was we did some work with the government where we did snake awareness courses from Kokstad all the way up through to Manguzi in the northern parts of KZN. And generally, we'll tell people, if there's a snake in your house, find a snake catcher. Like in Hillcrest, you throw a rock, you'll hit someone who catches snakes. When we hit places like Manguzi and things like that, there are none.
Yeah.
And also, people aren't going to be paying 450, 500 Rand for someone to come and remove a snake from their house. So it hit me midway through this one course. Like, what am I going to tell these people? Burn your house down.
Yeah, what happens?
So that lit a fire in me.
Is it burn your house down, or is it the snake gets killed?
Exactly. That's the thing. It's always, you can't tell someone leave your home because there's a snake in it, or try and catch it. That's just as dangerous as trying to kill it. So, it literally just hit me, built like a fire up in me that I want to make something that changes this. Also, I understand 100% why snake catchers have to charge a fee.
Of course.
We don't.
Yeah.
I don't believe in it. If a lion comes in my house, I don't expect Isn't to charge me to pull it out. And it's a dangerous animal. And the only way we can live together effectively is if people know that there's no danger behind it. So we don't charge for call outs at all. Obviously, I do understand why people do it because petrol, especially now, is like hectic.
It's contentious.
But my whole thing was I wanted to figure out a way to be able to take people from the rural areas, bring them, teach them the basics of running a snake relocation business, how to capture them effectively and do that, take them on, train them up for free, send them back to all these places, because I can't say that I've effectively done my job there when I've maybe they've got a little bit more information in their heads, but I haven't changed the result. It's still not there. So that was like, and I was trying to puzzle, like, how are we gonna do this together? And about 8 years ago, I saw the place that we've taken over, and it's when like I've got a YouTube series called I Bought an Abandoned Zoo, and no one can argue with me that place was an abandoned. Like there were trees growing through there, and that was just insane. It's been quite a process, but we're driving now 7 years after I first saw it, driving on the back road because the highway is always messed up with traffic. And I drove past it and I said to Bex, hey, we should email these people. Maybe like they're doing nothing with it. So we emailed them. They were like, what's your plan? I'm like, well, I've got no money, but this is what I want to do. I can't pay you rent. I can't do anything, but I'll fix the place up. We'll do everything on our own. And then once it's up and running, and they're like, yeah, sure, go for it.
Wow.
So then we're like, okay, this is the opportunity. Now we can start banging this out, get people in, try and take on more students, volunteers, just trying to get what's in my head out, because like I can't do it forever. And I think that's a big problem that we have, especially with reptiles. Like luckily I've worked in other aspects of animals with mammals and etc. And you kind of see you can't do this on your own.
No.
It's impossible.
So it's education.
Yeah. So I'm not going to get angry if someone else does a reptile show in the area I'm from, because I don't care who you learn from, as long as you're learning, So when that all like happened, then I was like, okay, we've got this place. Now we can push it and we can really do something good for our country and wildlife as a whole, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much where it came from.
So what's the aim? Opening date of what? So I know.
Maybe the next interview we have, okay. I'll let you know on that one. So I have, we're trying to work in phases, just because like we'd like to get something open that can start earning a bit of money to add into the rest of the things. Obviously, we've got the conservation cafe, and where the whole word conservation cafe comes from. Again, like I don't really care about money. I know it's important. I like eating food. So like money has never been, I've never been a businessman in any way, but Conservation Cafe, the whole part of the conservation part is we work with people like Zululand Conservation Trust, all these different things, the Rhino Orphanage at Manyoni, and 10% of whatever we make at the coffee shop before profit and whatever goes straight to a different conservation initiative across the world. CCF, Cheetah Conservation Fund, things like that. We're just trying to,
nice way for people to give back.
I'm not going to spend it as effectively as those guys would. So we'll get it to them and then let them do it. So it's a bit of a thing, but that's
that. Very cool. You can come and have a coffee and feel like your coffee's beneficial to more than just
I thought people would care about it a bit more. They don't really. They just want their coffee.
They want their coffee. So, as long as it's decent coffee.
There are people that have loved the whole idea of it. Currently now we're trying to raise funds for the Rhino Orphanage, because obviously winter coming up, those baby law rhinos, they're not really good at making heat on their own. So we're trying to get 230 watt red lamps. Like in reptiles, if you're going above 175 watt, you're making the sun. So it obviously gets quite cold for the guys, but it's just little things like that. I thought, what a cool way to get average Joe having a coffee, like, hey, I could help with that. Let me try and do something for something else here, So that's basically what I wanted to all be about. Like, if I've got to be the avenue or the face to get people on board, then cool. But I don't want to do it on my own. More the merrier, And I think that's
it's collaborative.
Yeah, the biggest driving force in what I want to do. Just everyone enjoy animals, even if you don't love them, it's okay. But understand that they need to be there. And around the coffee shop, we've got like posters of all critically endangered things. So like, for example, so many people in South Africa never heard of an Albany adder.
A what?
An Albany adder.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So Albany adder, critically endangered, comes from one little spot in near Port Elizabeth. How many people in South Africa have ever heard of that animal? No. And that's like a normal thing, even among snake guys. Wow. It's like, what's an Albany adder? And I mean, that thing will probably go extinct before anyone's ever found out what. So we've got a burger at our coffee shop called the Albany adder. So even if you don't know what it is, you got the name and you can start thinking about it. So that's just all I want. And our biggest thing is obviously with kids, especially. I really feel like pass the torch to them, let them run as hard as they can with it. And so
You look at me, I look at you, I see the love in your eyes. I'm lost in
Health you can see, love you can feel. UltraPet, the science of love.
So what do you envision the sort of setup to look like in terms of what are you hoping to keep there in terms of species?
So I'd like to really focus on the stuff that is maybe persecuted because of cultural belief, things like that. A hammercorp, for example, is seen as a very bad luck animal to see. There's certain species of owl that are persecuted because they like an omen. And that's really what I want to do. I think I know that people can't conserve what they don't care about. So I've got to make them care. So sometimes that means that it's going to be a bunny rabbit for a 2-year-old kid, because I just want them to have fun with an animal so that later on when they got, like, I can actually talk to them, you know, they remember that fun that they had. So they're a little bit more receptive to what I'm putting across. I want to be able to try and focus on things. I also want to pull a little bit of each zoo I've worked in. So I worked at Kango Wildlife Ranch down in the Cape. Like, if you want to see what a zoo should look like, go there.
It's beautiful.
I love that place. They had a thing we called Lima Island, and that was in part of my, like, you know, my jurisdiction, if you want to call it that. And I'd walk in there every morning. The lemurs would be like suntanning themselves there. We had a little blue ducker, Borky. She'd run up to me like a dog. And like, that was one of my favorite places to be. So I want to try and recreate that, because I also saw so much emotion come in there. You know, everyone, it's hard to care about something you're just looking at through a cage. But I think once you put hands on that animal, obviously certain animals only, but like once you've made that like contact with the thing, it makes it real. There's no more, oh yeah, what, you know, that's someone else's problem. It's in front of you. It's invigorated some kind of emotion, some kind of passion in you.
Yeah.
And like, that's really what I want. I just want to get animals into people's lives that maybe wouldn't always have the opportunity to.
Okay.
So that's my goal. That's my vision. I've just realized I went on a whole different little tangent there, but like, yeah, so we want to work in phases. Phase 1 will be goats, rabbits, and then a small little snake room, mainly focused just at kids. We do a lot of school shows, and we work really a lot with kids. So I want things that is easy for them, like some indigenous snakes, so that people can see what they live around. And then as we go through the phases, so the lemur part is phase 2. That's my favorite part. We've got a little bench in there. I said to Bex, when like I die, we'll put a little plaque on that thing. That's my bench. that's going to be my place once I've got those animals in there. But yeah, it's just slowly, maybe that's going to change again. I don't know. I'm going to see what's needed. If it has to become an entire pure reptile park, because that's where conservation needs effort, it will be. I doubt it though, because I'm like ADHD with animals. I love them all. So we want a bit of everything, you know. Obviously, my plan is not to display things like lion. I don't think a lion belongs in a cage. They're not nearly endangered enough for us to have to really focus on their little intricate breedings. They also breed really well in captivity. I think that there's enough going on. I don't want any large animals that don't display well, like primates, for example. You can do whatever you want in an enclosure. People always feel sad for a primate because it's reminding of a human being. Big cats like lions, you can do all the enrichment, all the work that you need. You're never going to stop that animal from pacing. It's just innate in it. So I want to be very specific on the animals, because I think zoos in general, and I try and work, like I'm literally calling it the conservation center. What difference that makes between the word zoo and conservation center
about to ask
is
you.
literally zero.
Okay, so this is more zoo type, but respectfully, because you don't want to keep animals that are going to be compromised in that kind of environment.
So I think a zoo and a conservation center is the exact same thing.
Okay.
But people of today hear the word zoo and, oh, that's horrible. How can you do that? Joburg Zoo, for example, recently in the last couple of years, did a whole project on the Pickersgill reed frog, which was going extensively on the KZN coastline. If it wasn't for that captive breeding program that they had there, we could say goodbye to that animal. So, you know, it's like little things like that. Albany adder, geometric tortoise from Southern Africa, critically endangered. Little things like that people don't know about, that maybe need a little bit more information on. But yeah, so that's what I want to focus on. But as I say, with the whole conservation center thing, I think it's just a little bit more of a easier to hear.
Yeah, it's an emotive topic.
I had a discussion with the lady the other day that came to the lovely person. We had a really cool chat, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy you're calling it a conservation center and not a zoo." So what's the difference? What difference is it?
She made her feel comfortable.
That word better. That's all it is. And I think it's very important to say that For us, for example, I will not open that place unless we are some kind of AZA accredited. Just because to get that accreditation, so AZA is Association of Zoos and Aquariums.
Okay.
In Africa, we fall under PASA, which is the Pan-African Association. Europe's got one, America's got their own one, and then there's WAZA, which is the WAZA, World Association. That's like the all-encompassing one. But to become a part of them, you've got to hit your mark on everything, on enrichment, things like that. The problem, I think, where people get this whole bad thing with zoos is Tiger King. Was his set up a zoo? No, it's someone keeping animals in their backyard, in my opinion. Just down the road in Maritzburg, is that a zoo? In my opinion, not really. I think that's just someone keeping animals for the sake of keeping animals. And I think if you're doing it for profit or something like that, then yeah. And I think that's where people have gotten this big aggression to the word zoo, because it, put a chimpanzee in a zoo, you're going to make big money. It's like, I think that's where people lose it out. So I'm trying to, I've grown up in zoos. It's where I've always worked. Captive animal management is my thing. So I'm a little bit,
you're passionate
hurts
about it.
when people say things like that, because I've worked in really good places that are not part of that at all.
And you're taking the learnings from all those places and wanting to.
And at the end of the day, there will always be a need for zoological establishments. Like online social media, you're like, oh, they belong in the wild. Okay, never have kids. Tell all your friends not to have kids. Stop eating X, Y, Z. Change your life completely. Don't bleat on social media the whole time, because without zoos, we're not going to have these animals anymore. They're going to go away. And once they're gone, they're gone. Maybe Colossal helps us with something. I doubt Colossal's going to be worrying about a Pickersgill reed frog though. So, things like that. It's the little things that maybe get overlooked and stuff, but people just look at that one thing and it's like, you slap everyone with the same brand, which I don't think is fair. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So what are you doing at the moment? I mean, like you say, you've had experience abroad, you've worked in various places in South Africa, from education to entertainment. Take us through your history. Were you the kid who came home with like frogs?
So my grand's, it's crazy. My grand's always been someone to write down notes in a diary.
Oh, yes.
And she had this little thing where, Lance is putting his hands down holes, and every time I ask him, he's saying the word snake. So they ended up getting me a little brown house snake. And I was like 2.5, 3 maybe, I don't know. But in her diary, it's like, eek, Lance got a snake, 1st of January, whatever. I'm just giving a random date. The very next day, eek, Lance's snake has escaped. So I've been playing with animals. My grandpa really instilled the passion in me. When we were growing up, we weren't like the richest family in the world, so no DSTV and things like that. But every Sunday there was an Attenborough, documentary on SABC3, and that was time to go jump on Grandpa's lap, watch this documentary. And he always had a passion for wildlife and a respect for wildlife. I think that was instilled in me from young. But originally, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Okay.
Like when I was youngin', marine biology was like my thing. I got a crazy addiction to dinosaurs. And then I think something just clicked in my head where I realized I'm probably not going to be able to keep a pet dinosaur, but crocodiles come close, so we'll get one of those instead. But so I've had no formal training in any kind of schooling or anything like that. Obviously, I've spent hours and hours and hours just reading books, consuming my knowledge. My gran would take me into the library, leave me there for 3 hours, and I'd just read everything I could about reptiles, animals in general. And then we had in grade 11, you got to do like a work experience thing or whatever. And everyone else went to like these hectic law firms, whatever. And there was actually a pet shop here in Hillcrest. I grew up in Wartburg, which is quite a way out. And I found this pet shop, and they had black mambas, they had green mambas, probably crazy, but like they had a whole bunch of cool animals. And I was like, I'm doing my work experience there. And while working for them, it came, like I would do it every weekend and school holidays and stuff like that. And then this job came up in the middle of Mpumalanga, a place called Hazyview. Perry's Bridge Reptile Park was the name of it then. They were looking for a manager. No one wanted to go and work there. So my boss put us in contact. I went up and I just started working there. And then from there, it's just opportunity came after opportunity. I was really lucky. And I think where most of what keeps me safe today and my handling skills and stuff came from a guy named Donald Stratham. He's passed away since, but I think he was probably the best groundwork I've had in my life. He also taught me to see things in a much more scientific way. Like, don't just flip a rock, here's a snake. be like, okay, I found this bug. What eats that bug? This frog eats that bug. Okay, what else eats? And then, slowly break down that whole ecological process and stuff. And then from there, I was really lucky, and I got a job in the UAE with Sheikh Hamdan. I thought I was lucky at least. So I went there so he had bought 44 Nile crocodiles. Hadn't got an enclosure or anything ready.
Why?
I was supposed to
what was his interest in these?
his own private zoo.
Okay.
Like I said, I thought I was lucky. And I was supposed to have like 3 months before I left. And they're like, phoned me and they're like, hey, you need to come now. We've bought these crocs, you're coming with them. And they'd been bought from a place up in Pretoria. So a week later, jump on a plane with all these crocodiles. We off to the UAE. I got there wasn't much structure in terms of like what I'm used to. So like animals is I've got no structure in any other part of my life. Like when Bex first met me, I'd walk in the house and there'd be one shoe here, a t-shirt there, my belt here, like no structure. But when it comes to animals, everything must be nice.
Yes. And needs met.
No structure. Yes. Especially that. And enclosures built before you get animals, preferably, that have run for a little bit so we can see where the problems are. So because of how it was there and the way I am, I'm a firm believer, and I think Amo can tell us this, is with animals, there's no such thing as tomorrow. You can say, I'll do it tomorrow, that animal's dead tomorrow. That animal's injured tomorrow, there's a problem. There's no such thing tomorrow. I don't care what the time is. If that thing needs something now, you do it now. So I couldn't sit back and just watch these things happening. And that's where I was so lucky that I was able to experience all these new animals. Like I wasn't just a reptile guy anymore. All of a sudden I was working with cheetah. I was doing training is something that I absolutely love. I think especially in a captive scenario, you need an animal to be cognitively thinking, not just there's food, there's sleep, there's that. So enrichment, behavioral training, things like that just blew my mind, and I got so into it. And then that became my new thing, because I think you make such a relationship with the animal. And I'm not saying Tiger King, go and jump on a tiger's back, but for example, to get a voluntary blood draw out of an animal, that's like, that animal's giving me its tail, letting me stab something into it for me to pull blood out. That's a level of trust and it's important. I'm not it's not a zoo thing. I'm not making a jump through it. It's I just love it. And that kind of sparked it all. And then from there, I got another job, and here you are. Where we are now, we worked in some crazy places, Somalia, Tanzania, Israel, while there were bombs going on. I worked there for a bit. That was quite cool. It's just been one crazy adventure after another. And then I met Dingo Dinkelman, the big YouTuber. He became my best friend, but in every way, shape, and form. I got his logo tattooed on my back that he tattooed himself.
Oh, nice.
As deep as he could. But I think that also just showed me a new way of reaching people. I've done, I've forgotten how many snake shows I've done in my life, thousands. And, I've reached a lot of people, but you post one video, even like what you're doing here, like, there's, animal people are probably going to watch it, but how many people that don't know how to look after their cat properly, this thing's going to pop up and they're going to learn something. Now we're effectively reaching so many more people. So that like gave me also a new direction. And I really wanted to, my whole thing is like, I don't care how rich I am when I die. I don't care what I'm driving when I die. I hardly ever wear shoes. You're lucky I put them on for this.
Thank you. Can't see your feet though, so you can take them off.
There you go. Look at those good boots. So like, I care about what I leave behind though. I care about what will people think of me when I'm done. Like, I want them to say that I was selfless. He gave everything he could to what he loved. And something that always runs through my head, my first job, dodgy place, I lied a bit. My thing is fake it till you make it. And luckily God's kept me safe every time I faked it. But I remember releasing my first black bomber and like I was beaming like an idiot, like Cheshire Cat kind of style. And my boss turned to me and he said, "You'll never be a millionaire, but you'll never stop smiling." And that, I've told Amo that, I've told every single person I've put through training, like I can't promise you millions. I can't promise that you're going to have 20 million subs on YouTube or anything like that. But you'll never stop smiling. You'll never stop smiling. It never feels like work. So, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, let's talk about some of the dangers, because that is a reality. And, make the mention of dingo. It's a high risk kind of job. And we're dealing with some dangerous sort of handling situations.
Definitely.
How do you manage that conversation, particularly because you have a responsibility in terms of training and educating? What's your approach to informing people?
So I firmly, at least with snakes, obviously with different species, there's different things. Like some animals look at us as prey, or can look at us as prey. When it comes to snakes, though, I firmly believe, like average Joe outside, very difficult to get bitten by a snake. Like if we actually look at it, we break the numbers down. 3% of people worldwide are bitten legitimately. So when I say legitimate, I mean you're walking through the bush.
Unlucky.
You're talking nonsense. Take it, puff at it to the cough. Okay, that's a legitimate bite. You did nothing wrong. 3% is snake bite. 97% of it illegitimate, meaning someone tried to catch, kill, or move that snake. You avoid those three things. 97%, I would have taken those marks in school. Like, it's difficult to get bitten by a snake in that way. Obviously, with what we do, completely different thing, and completely different to your snake catchers and things like that as well. A snake catcher, different scenario. You've got a black mamba in the roof here. There's people around. There's a pet. It's grab that snake behind the head as quick as you can, lock him up, get him away, and make it safe. The only way to do it. I'm not saying that that's the wrong way.
Yeah.
Captive animal management, I don't want to be grabbing my snake behind the head every day.
No.
Not because it's risky for me. In fact, it's probably the safest way. Once the sharp end's done, you just get pooed on. You're good. But I don't want to create that bad association with human beings for the animal. Like the animal's life has to be number one first. So we've got black mambas. We've got on our YouTube channel, I don't think I've ever pulled a grab stick out on anything that we've done. It's always hook stick. I'm always reading the behavior of the animal. I always teach Amma about that. It's about the behavior. Like if I'm calm, if I'm doing slow, predictable movements with the animal, I'm not getting that crazy flicky thing, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're a great big old predator to them. So with what we do, I think it is definitely the most dangerous aspect, especially when you're running your own business. There's no, hey boss, I'm feeling a bit sick today. If an animal's got an issue, it's an enclosure. I've always believed if I put an enclosure, that thing's life must be the best, because I'm the one who decided to do that.
Yeah.
It's up to me to make sure he's eating, up to me to make sure he's healthy at all times, whether he needs vet things, take him to the vet, we get everything that we need done. Obviously with some venomous snakes, it's a little bit difficult. Not many vets want to grab a black mamba behind the head.
I don't.
There are quite a few. No, don't worry, we'll get you there. So, we've got to always be really close to these animals, holding them behind the head, doing this, doing that, and in the softest, safest way. Because, but, like for example, a black mamba, everyone's like, oh, it's aggressive, it's this. I don't believe that. Obviously, you're in the corner of your house when your dogs will be barking at it and you try to chop its head off, fight or flight. There's no animal in the world says, okay, you've won, just make it quick. No, they're going to go hard. So with our animals, we try and always make, so as far as the dangers and stuff go, they're there. With dingo, it was allergies. So if Amo took that bite that he did, Amo would still be here talking with us. I have the same allergies, not to the same extent as dingoes were. Mine are relatively bad. But I know very well, and he told me this, and I believe the same thing, is that it's a risk. We know that. We know that getting bitten is not good for snakes in general, because it's like, oh, I told you so. Of course it was going to happen and stuff like that. But you just try and make sure that whatever you're doing is for the reason you're doing it, not for anything else. Because with dingo, it was just a normal average day, cleaning snakes, putting in this bucket, make a mistake. You're a carpenter, you're going to hit your thumb. I don't really think about it as much as I should, if I'm honest.
You probably can't. You probably can't live every day in anticipation.
But also, I've never seen it as this snake can kill me. I see it as I can make a mistake.
Yeah.
It's up to me to, I've got the tools. If you've got the tools, you can't get bitten. It's impossible. If you do everything right, it's impossible. Obviously, animals do weird things, but luckily with snakes, they don't have a frontal lobe, so we're not getting too much personal things out of it. I'm getting black mamba does black mamba things, so Cape Cobra does Cape Cobra things. So, it's just slowly working through that. But I think if you're worrying about the danger side of it, you probably should find something else to do. It's going to be there. It's always there. And obviously, I don't want to die to a snake, because as I say, I think that takes away all the hard work I've done. But yeah, Bex is kind of accepted her fate with that as well. And we just do what we're supposed to do, make sure that we're doing it for the right reason, and then the danger slowly goes away.
When you're teaching respect, though, so you're doing these courses, particularly if you are focusing. I mean, you saw my face when you're talking snakes. There's a reason why we're fearful of them,
Of course.
and I think with most people, there's a healthy respect for them, and there's the correct amount of fear. It means, I'm not going to get in the way of, they're not going to, and it's going to be mutually beneficial. But obviously, there are people who are just totally ridiculously petrified of anything other than, maybe a small dog or cat.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the education that you do is to maybe explain the percentage of people who get bitten. And so what else are you educating on that's really important so that there is this mutual respect gained and that people want to support your conservation efforts?
So for me, like one thing I firmly believe is every human being experiences trauma differently. For me, it could be you hit me over the head with a broom. And that was very traumatic in my life, which I'm sure it would be for everyone. But there's other people that trauma could be, hey, stop doing that. So I think it also comes to reading people as well as you can and knowing what's the task here. Even when we are also hired a lot for entertainment, but entertainment and education don't need to be two separate things. You can be funny and exciting and still be. So one thing I do tell people is I don't expect you to love this animal. I don't expect you to put a big old snake around your neck and get 10 and turn your whole house into a breeding facility or anything like that. But understand that everything has a reason. Everything was put here for a reason. And we have to try and find that coexistence. So obviously teaching respect is a big thing. But I think the biggest issue that we have, especially with snakes, is picture when you're a kid, you watch a scary movie. And now you're walking from the lounge to the bathroom and there's a bedroom on the side and the light's off. You run past that room because it's scary. Okay, but you making it scary because of what you just watched. But if you walk into that room and you switch that light on, it's not scary anymore because now you've got all the information you need. You see that there's no big 20-toothed creature under the bed. So I think with animals, it's what keeps people nervous is not knowing. The lack of understanding, the lack of knowledge on that species is what's going to cause you fear. For example, even with me, walking, I used to love being in the bush and stuff. I still do, but I was always barefoot running through the bush. And my grandson, put shoes on, a snake's going to bite you. At the end of the day, what's a shoe going to stop a snake biting me? It's not. But what's it creating? It's creating that little bit of fear. So, on a broad thing, talking to 100 people, obviously it's going to be really hard to try and find out things. But when people come to me one-on-one, it's making it make sense for them.
Yeah.
Maybe and this is one thing that gets me with most snake guys. Just because you keep snakes doesn't mean you should be an educator. Okay, like keeping snakes and teaching people about animals are two different things. Most animal people in zoos, I work with animals because I hate people. You're in the wrong place, brother.
Yes.
Like, go get a PhD and get in the lab and sit behind your microscope all day. But if you want to teach people about animals, you better learn people first. Because if I'm always just this offish person around animals every time I wouldn't do that. Oh, you've got a brown house snake. Well, I wouldn't keep that. No, man. Like, engage with them, make it good, and try and find what it is for. So to answer that question directly is a bit, because it is so, people are so different. You can have a kid where I've put 10 ball pythons on the kid and he's running around. This is the craziest time in his life. But also maybe at home, the other kid, they don't have a pet hamster. They don't have a dog. They live in a flat. The only animal he's ever seen is a rat that big that stole his bread, or a monkey that's come through the window. So trying to find out that individual thing on that person and then bring that knowledge through to them. Because I think that's the biggest thing is we get told things and then we keep that. And we don't bother to learn more about it. No. But we use that as like a fire starter for our fear the whole time.
Yeah. So what do you feel are acceptable when people are sort of have a true interest in reptiles? What do you feel is reasonable? I mean, having had the conversation about zoos and conservation centers and saying, in the interests of conservation and education, it's reasonable to keep these animals. In the same sense, what is reasonable to keep as pets or as an enthusiast?
So for me, I think there's like a big definition between exotic pet and pet. I feel like there's a lot of reptiles that are no longer that exotic pet thing. For example, ball python. There's 6,000 different mutations the last time I checked. They have been bred in captivity for so many years. Corn snakes, leopard geckos, bearded dragons, like what Richard brought the other day, things like that. I don't think you can call that an exotic pet anymore.
They're pretty exotic to me.
Yeah, but I mean, like they are not, like when you say exotic pet, like your average guy is like, oh, so he's keeping monkeys in his backyard, something like that. I do believe that reptiles form, especially ball pythons, leopard geckos, things like that, are some of like the best pets a kid could have. I got a fish tank when I was a kid. That was the worst idea because the maintenance that goes into that, not saying that reptiles are easy maintenance, definitely not, but there are some animals that have been bred in captivity for so long that they work really well in captivity. So I'd say like, a big problem, especially with venomous snakes, I'm going to go over to that, is I think it gives people a little bit of like more personality because maybe they're a little bit self-conscious of talking about themselves. So I keep a black mamba. The rest of the conversation, you're not asking me about what how I feel about anything. You're like, what do you do? And now I've got something to talk about. It makes me the slangman, the hectic guy.
Special.
I hate those people. Like I think that's what we've got to try and avoid here. Is I don't think it's necessary for people to be keeping venomous snakes at home. Really, I don't. I do believe also, though, there are some private individuals that have contributed to conservation more than most zoos would. For example, Chester Zoo bred 2 radiated tortoises, world news. There's a guy here in Hillcrest who breeds about 60 a year.
Wow.
Speak to that guy. Find out what he's doing right because it's a critically endangered animal. There's definitely work for it. But I think we need to go onto a more of a system like what Florida's got. Do 1,000 hours per species if you want to keep it. Because, for example, at an expo in South Africa, if it's the right time of year, you can find Western Diamondback rattlesnakes for 150 Rand each. If you're spending 150 Rand on that thing, do you think you've got respect for what it can actually do? Sure. A bite from that animal is going to cost you in excess of R1 million. I don't think that should be okay. No. I'm probably irritating a lot of snakes.
No.
I don't mind.
But I think, as you said, I mean, we see it in cats and dogs. I'm going to talk about the things that obviously we relate to. And we feel the same. I mean, we've got some phenomenal clients who will also go to extremes to meet needs. But there's the conversation of, should everybody be entitled to have a pet? Should everybody entitled, especially if it's rescued or rehomed or whatever, rather than having all these animals in shelter. It's a different conversation than, having reptiles. But it's meeting a need for both. You're feeding, you're homing, but then where do you go when there is a problem or to feed them and meet their needs, both nutritionally and, enrichment and just general sort of health and well-being. You can't say that everybody's then entitled to have a pet if they can't meet those basic needs. Yeah. So, in the same way that if you really want to have a bunny and that truly, and you as a parent say, well, like, look, I understand that my daughter's probably going to lose interest in this and accept that. And you've done the research. I'm happy to be a bunny owner and you're going to take on that responsibility and then continue to meet those needs. The problem is we see the consequences of these animals being really neglected. Yeah. And I think, the same can apply. And I talk from experience, obviously, as a mother, and I'm very lucky that my son, probably very much like you, takes an interest and is very hyper-focused about, his interests. And so he will ensure that every night he puts the chickens away and he's looking after his leopard geckos. And it's a real responsibility for him. So much to gain from having them. But if he wasn't meeting their needs, or we were not invested in keeping that enclosure good conditions, cleaning regularly with the right kind of products and feeding, we were not invested in the education part of it. Yeah. These animals can suffer.
Definitely.
So, not only obviously the risks of taking on species that are either delicate or vulnerable, you can expose them to things that you probably wouldn't even realize, or your family to zoonotic diseases. I think a lot of people don't think about things like that. So, I mean, I'm asking you just sort of really out of interest of your opinion on like what people keep and where people go too far.
So I agree with that all so much. I think probably with cats and dogs, it should be more policed. Because again, big frontal lobe on those animals, they need a whole bunch more work. And like I say to everyone, it doesn't matter what animal it is. There's no such thing as bad animal, only a bad person looking after it. Can be aggression problems, whatever. Those are all easily solvable if you put in the effort to learn a little bit more about it. So obviously, like, for example, like a chameleon. Everyone wants a chameleon. It's the worst pet in the world. They're angry all the time. They're not a social species in the wild. So, and I think that's also like, with the cats and dogs and stuff like that, like, the whole word exotic pet. Some animals are not ever going to be a pet. I know for a fact the snake, he doesn't love me. He physically can't. He doesn't have the part of the brain to. I can desensitize him. I can get him habituated. I can get all of those things going, but he's never going to be like my dog and bring a ball back. It would be cool, but maybe I need to work on my training. But no, so I think it's so important for people to, but I suppose if we really had to push it, maybe some people should go through testing before they're allowed to even have kids, because it's a big problem, and it just falls back and everyone gets painted with that same big old brush. I do think there are species that have no place in a private person's home. But I do believe that there's a lot of stuff that we could still like learn from private keepers and things like that. I know some people that make some of the heads of zoos that I've worked for look like idiots, and they're private people. But it's so hard because it's like there's maybe 5 really great ones, but then there's 160,000 that are terrible. So I think that also falls on a responsibility on the person selling the animal. Obviously people want money, so it's like, I'm not going to tell them about the fact that this thing had respiratory infection and or the fact that, you need to do this and that. And like, we don't really breed animals for the pet trade. I don't think you can dip your foot in both. So we just kind of avoid that. But like, if I was someone to sell snakes, I think it would be quite hard to buy them from me because I'd want to make sure that they're going, have you done your research? Like, Amo, the way we've trained with him, not that he's keeping these animals as pets, but before he touches a single snake, he's done a full bite protocol. He's researched weird, random things that the venom causes, not to teach him fear or anything like that, but you must know what you're getting involved with. Like with that Western Diamondback rattlesnake. Everyone wants a rattlesnake. Oh, let's check my rattlesnake. Buzztail, all of that. Do you know what's going to happen when it gets a stuck eye cap? And you got to get your hands behind the thing's head with his fangs. We call it riding the lightning. It's my favorite thing when the fangs go out like that. It's quite an adrenaline rush. But like that's a very dangerous thing to do. But now you've got that animal, you're gonna have to do it. It's this big. It's a difficult thing to get started. So yeah, I think what I say I'd like it to go to Florida's way. Florida's still got problems with that, people keeping animals terribly. So it's a very, very difficult thing to try and police, I think. Just because, we hear all the time on Facebook, this guy got caught with 45 illegal species and they like kept in plastic containers all over his house and stuff like that. That's terrible. So I think my way of trying to help with that is lead by example. Like, just try and also, especially like in the snake world, obviously that's where most of my experience comes from, is like how you deal with people as well. Maybe someone's asking you a stupid question. You reply to that, what a stupid question. That guy never asks for his advice again. So who's actually more wrong there? Me for replying like that, because now that oak's never going to come and ask me again. Yeah. So what's he going to do? He's just going to keep making mistakes. So in an ideal world, all of us would learn from everyone else's mistakes. I'll bump my head on this. No, you don't bump your head on that. But yeah, it's just going to be something. That's why I think the shows and stuff that we're doing, like we've got no age group. If you want to bring 6-month-old kids, I'm probably not going to talk as much because a bit of a waste of my time, but I'll make sure those kids have the best time of their lives. Like that they getting that respect with the animals and stuff. And then that will create a little bit of better care, because if you really love this thing, you're not going to watch it wither away and things like that. But from a parent side of view, I think also, like you're saying, do your research first, because you're going to be keeping that animal at the end of the day.
Accept that you are becoming that snake, and
hopefully your kid gets back into it and takes the responsibility off of you eventually. But for that time, you are going to have to be policing it yourself. And
what are your views about the whole issue with illegal trade of these animals in South Africa?
Maybe a bit of like a unpopular opinion, but we seem to throw this whole thing of the pet trade and the legal pet trade is what's causing so many issues. There are some animals that are like, they breed really slowly, and like obviously there's always going to be this want for the rarest of the rare stuff. But in those same areas that these things are getting smuggled from, let's say 23 get smuggled, they're probably going to, hopefully, go to someone who's really going to look after them well. And I'm not saying I agree with it in any way. Let's just think that.
Yeah.
But drive on that same road. See how many are dead on the road. Like, you know, it's. I think it barely touches side in the grand scheme of things. Again, it just comes down to that habitat fragmentation, cars, roads, railroads, people's houses, schools, malls, all things like that. I think a lot more effort needs to be put from the government into creating protected areas. Like, I mean, even if you go up north to, what's that place, Smangaliso, like the highway goes through a nature reserve. There's parts where the road goes through Unfiltered. Like, that shouldn't be allowed, because how many animals are we losing on the roads and things like that? So, and then also if you've got that protected area, the animals in there, it's very difficult for people to come poach them. Obviously they still will. Like as long as there's a financial value to it, people are always going to be, but they're not animal people, they're smugglers. That's their role, There are certain species, for example, radiated tortoises. We've got some at our park, something I really want to put a lot of effort into. That there, I can tell you almost all of what it's going through is through the pet trade. Most smuggled reptile in the world. It's in Asia. It's got high value as like a status symbol and things like that. So again, it's a big thing, and again, it just comes down to education. But I hope to say that your average person wanting to buy an animal would rather buy a captive bred one that doesn't come with a million parasites and all sorts of other things. But I think we need to maybe just set things in place a little bit better in conservation in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never nice. Like, I mean, especially with the bird stuff that happens, it's
terrible.
And Coke bottles and things like that. I think those guys should get the death penalty. I don't think that's something that should be messed around with at all. And also, I believe that if you are ever caught in some kind of a smuggling operation like that, you shouldn't be allowed to work with animals after that. It's like, if you do something wrong and you're a school teacher, you're not allowed to work with kids anymore. Like, it should be the same kind of thing, because I think, weed out the bad eggs and get them out. But again, when there's money, you get rid of 1, 5 more come in. But I don't think it's as big, especially in Southern Africa. I can't talk about Asia. I can't talk about other places. I haven't really had too much involvement in that. In the UAE, it is quite a big problem. You get what they, like, a market, to call it a souk. In Sharjah, there was an animal market there. Whoa,
terrible.
Like horrible, and just massive amounts of wild caught animals that are legally being exported. It's just, So it's definitely a big issue. I think in Southern Africa as a whole, though, it's not as big of a story as what we think, because we are quite strict with it, and so people get caught. It's all of our little weird lizards that I think it's at the moment now. I think in the last 3 months, there's probably been 8 or 9 different situations where Cataphractus, the armadillo girdle lizard, has been found. That's a problem. Yeah. That's a problem, because that's high numbers. It's high numbers, and genetically, once you lose that diversity, they're gone. It's what we see with cheetahs. Cheetahs. So again, exotic pet thing in the UAE and stuff. I've worked on both ends of that scale. I worked in the UAE, where I'd like to think that the animals I worked with weren't smuggled, but maybe they were. I don't know. I made sure they had a good life while I was there, at least. And then I worked on the other side of it in Somalia, where the animals are getting smuggled from. And again, comes down to money. The average Somali family lives on maybe $10 a month. They get $1,000 for a little spotted cat. It's hard to explain to that person, we need to conserve this animal, because they're like, yeah, but I need to eat. My kids need to eat. So as long as there's a financial gain to it, it's always going to be a big problem. Yeah. But the more that are getting smuggled, the less genetic diversity we've got. And that's with cheetahs, it's like we're talking like a 1% survival rate on cubs, because genetically they're just so close, and there's no dispersal anymore, because there's just no space for these animals to go. Most game reserves don't want cheetah, because your person coming from America, the UK, what do they want to see? They want to see elephant, they want to see a lion. Lion, cheetah don't get along too well.
No.
Cheetah eat expensive things like springbuck and this antelope and that antelope. Lion eats cheap things. So I'd rather have too many lions in my game reserve and less cheetah, because more people are coming for that. So even there, and that's like a game reserve. You look at this as like this big conservation thing. They're not doing it properly. Sure. The numbers are not being managed effectively, because again, it just comes down to money.
Wow.
And try and make
Stuff
money more.
People are not aware of.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it's I think it's as long as there's money around it, it's always going to be an issue. So again, that's where education comes in. Like, just blast this fact, like they're going to be gone. And again, where zoological establishments, I won't say zoo, come in, because like, where else are people getting this information from? You know, we can't just talk about all the awesome things that are happening. We need to talk about the bad things that are happening as well. Because if people don't know about it, they're going to keep making the same mistake. So
or supporting the wrong kind of trade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one, and I'm sure there's a million different opinions on it. But yeah, you just got to try and get through it.
What did you bring me?
So
I'm like anticipating what's in. And
Chuckles.
Unfortunately, you won't be able to see, but Zena is on Luke's lap and she seems fast asleep. So hopefully she's fine. She's not going to come and investigate, but she's been sniffing around that box that we had on the floor.
So this is Chuckles. He's one of our...
Oh my, he's huge. Okay.
He's one of our education animals.
Wow.
We've had him for a good long time now. So he is what we call a Dumeral's boa. So Dumeral boas come from Madagascar. Again, an animal that in the wild is quite endangered, mostly from habitat loss and things like that. In captivity, they're doing quite well. A lot of people breed them. They take to captivity quite well. But so for me, this animal isn't like, he's not a pet. He's got a job. He works as hard as I do. We go to shows. He's got to be on people's necks. He is making a sacrifice for his species. He's going to be the guy that gets this animal into people's hearts and minds. And everyone loves a big old snake. So he's a nice in-between size. I know to people who don't really play with snakes, he looks big, but he's not really. We've got much bigger ones. But I think it's just it's important to select the species that you're using as well. Like, I would love to be able to use an African rock python, and if I had to put the big effort and stuff into a rock python, I could probably get it calm enough. But this species in the wild is very calm, a little bit more receptive to touch and stuff.
How old is he?
So I'm not too sure. He was a rescued snake.
Okay.
He actually
but he's fully adult size.
Yeah.
This is as big as he's going to get.
I've seen some like chunkier ones. I think he's quite a healthy boy in terms of the size and stuff like that. His body condition is pretty good. But yeah, he works really hard. He comes to us. He's probably been on 10,000 different kids' heads at this point, or necks at least. But yeah, again, it's just
He's
in captivity,
beautiful.
we've got a lot of these. In the wild, we're going to run out of them soon. So where do we take from? Where do we get those stocks from and stuff? But I think he's just a really calm, decent snake, and he just, tolerable of touch and stuff like
beautiful.
that. So
Absolutely.
we've had kids sit on the ground and just sit with the snake for like 10, 15 minutes, just like
In the
admiring
element.
him. He's got a cool little white spot underneath his neck there. I thought he was really special. Turns out all the Dumeral boas have that. So his little thing. But if you want, you can hold him over here.
Okay.
He's very, very calm and collected. It's a cold day as well, so
That
you
helps.
won't be
You're a bit
moving too
slower.
much. There you go. You can feel his
Oh,
weight.
how much does he weigh?
I'm not too sure. I'd say around 6-7 kilo at this point.
Okay.
But he's a really nice snake. And, one thing I always watch when I'm putting a snake onto someone like I've just done with you here is I can tell if you're comfortable or not by the snake.
Oh, about how they react.
How they react.
I think he's just felt how warm my lap is.
Yeah, so he's going to get himself
probably-
comfortable there
He's
now.
like, oh, this is warm.
And also, people say, oh, a dog can sense your fear. Not really.
So what's he saying?
So what I'm with the
What
snakes
is
and
he
stuff.
saying? He's like, I want to get off.
No, he's happy. He's happy. So, we're releasing that same pheromone when we're scared and when we're angry. So when an animal is looking at you like this, it's your thing. So like with him, no, he's on
just
a cruise.
exploring.
He's happy. But I can take a snake, put it in one kid's hand, and it's perfectly still. Put it into the next kid's hand, and it just wants to shoot off. There we go. Make himself
get
comfortable
tangled.
there.
Hopefully you can get him out of this.
Yeah, we'll get him out. We'll get him out.
It's not real.
There you go.
You've got to gently bend them. Oh, wow. Hello.
And that iridescent sheen, I don't know if we can catch it on the camera too well, but that's where people get that whole idea that snakes are slippery or slimy, because it's
Yes.
getting that
Yeah.
oil on water look, but that's just because they've got a skin just like us. And on top of that, it's keratin scale. So you're getting that shine of the oil between the two. But snakes can't sweat, obviously. The only time they'll be wet is if they've crawled through something wet.
It's lovely and cool.
Yeah, you'll be nice and cold today. It's been a bit of a chilly day.
Wow. And such a weight.
Yeah.
Like you actually cannot. It feels heavier than 7 or 8 kilos.
I always say it's like a bag of potatoes
Yes,
that
they're
can move.
Sure. And look how they like tuck it on the.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
like I think that's also what gets people off is like we don't understand why does it move so well?
Yeah, and
why is it flicking its tongue at me? Why is it all of that type of
is
stuff?
Is that normal? What does that mean?
Yeah, because it's so outside of what a normal animal is to us. It's I love them. I can't get enough of them. I love the way they move.
Tongue. So strong. So strong.
That's the thing. It's also like people look at a puffet and they're like, oh, that's a big old fat snake. No, there's no fat on that animal. It's like it's made
Muscle.
for one explosion at a time, and I think that's also what catches people so much is because they're like, oh, it's fat. And then he turns and he flexes that section of muscle and it's like, oh, okay, that's not actually fat there.
Very impressive. Oh. I think you need to get him an orchid.
Yeah, he seems to love it.
He likes it.
Fake plant's definitely better than the real one.
Out of your hands. I want to go to the plant. I'm going to pass him back to you so that I don't mishandle him. Wow.
There you go.
He is magnificent.
Big Chuck. Yeah, he's a good boy.
So, I mean, obviously, when you're displaying them, you are showing the different features that, as you say, explaining some of the anatomy, taking people through how frequently they've got to eat and sort of some of the issues around sort of nutritional mismanagement. What do people find most surprising about these kind of reptiles?
In terms of them feeding?
Just generally, like when you're doing educational stuff, what are people most surprised about?
I think with my shows, at least I can talk about is, I think people are always hoping for something a little bit more exciting.
Oh, okay.
Expecting the animal to react like how they've been told. And I try and pride myself on that. I believe it's up to the handler and what results you're getting in the animal.
Yeah.
So, we do a lot of venomous shows and stuff like that. And I'll put a puff adder next to me there and I'll sit down next to it and we'll start talking. And everyone's like, why is it not biting him? Doesn't want to bite me.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the thing that surprises people the most is that these things are not out there just be like, oh, I'm going to get you, son. Like, they want nothing to do with us. Like even now, like all he wants to do when he was with you, he's trying to get into that orchid. Now he's trying to get into the lamp. He just wants to get away. And so I think mostly people are most like impressed by the way it moves and things like that. Like it's also my favorite times are when I put it on them and they're speechless. Like they just, maybe it's a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of fear there. But they just kind of, fall in love with it. But as far as like facts and stuff go, like, everyone thinks that they dislocate their mouths and stuff like that. So when I explain to them that there's like over 100 loose bones in this head all attached by ligaments, they're like, what? Like it's those little things, or that it's got a heart and a spleen and a lung and all of the things that we've got.
Yeah.
And, like things like that and just like making it, because I think the big problem with snakes is like people kind of put them in their own category.
Yeah, they don't have the
Almost
normal
like an
anatomy.
alien.
Like, well, where would,
it
do
just
they have a
doesn't make
digestive
sense
system?
to people and all of that. So, I think that's probably what surprises people the most is that it's just an animal. It eats from the same end as every other animal does and it gets rid of what it's eaten through the same end as just as any other animal does. And that's what I always try and teach, especially with black mambas. It's something that falls quite close to my heart. Obviously, Dingo and myself, we used to mess around with quite a lot of them, and working in Limpopo and Mpumalanga, places like that, I've seen a lot.
And so when you're going on these kind of shows, you obviously taking him, as you say, he's a very hard worker. What are the other species you're taking with you?
So it also depends on what kind of show we're going for.
Yeah.
Like we do a lot of birthday parties and stuff like that, which, originally I thought to myself, I'm just a clown. But I'm not. I'm the first point of call. So I take animals like we've got rabbits, we've got hedgehogs. I don't just do pure reptile shows because, we like our rabbit is so good. She's station trained to her box. So she will not move. No one's allowed to pick her up. They're allowed to cuddle her, kiss her, hug her, whatever they want, but no picking up of her because she knows that's where she's safe.
Yeah.
But I basically look at what I want the result to be, and I'll take the animals there. I also try and take animals that come from that specific area, especially when we're doing work in the rural areas and stuff. Like, for example, a puff adder is found throughout Southern Africa. Each province will have a different coloration because obviously different biotypes that it's living in and stuff. If I take a puff adder that's wrong color to Mangozi, they say it's not the same snake. And I've lost him there. So It's like I try and really get specific with what I'm showing people and what we're trying to get out. But we try and avoid black mamba. I've got a really good black mamba as far as black mambas go, but we try not to do shows with that, more handling courses with them.
Okay.
I tell people in the beginning, this is not a true reflection of what it's going to be like on a 35-degree day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it all depends on what show we're doing.
And if they're healthy and well, and
Yeah.
is it ever a time when you do kind of like, I'm not going to take you today, you're just, whether, shedding or...
100%. Shed, always, we will, like, I actually had a much bigger snake than this to bring to you today, but he decided he was going to shed today. Also, when they're shedding, it's itchy. So you got slightly more of a grumpier snake. Obviously, if they've just eaten, we won't be taking them because snakes will regurgitate their prey out. If I've noticed behaviors in the week, or if we're working on something specific, I won't take the animal. So we've got 2 Dumal bows, and each of them will have their turns. We try and rest them as much as possible because I know they don't want to be doing all of this work, but they have to. They've got to be the ones for all of their friends. So if I've noticed anything weird, if anything's different, maybe if we've been medicating that animal for a while, he'll go on like a 6-month break until I've got body condition perfect again and things like that. Just because also, when you're in the public eye, you go up there with a skinny snake, it's not really showing the right thing that you want people to, not that we have too many skinny snakes, but it's just any kind of shedding, feeding, medical things, behavior issues, anything like that. Like our rabbit, now that she's going into winter, she's starting to get rid of her fur and grow that next one out.
Yeah.
She's kind of been put on a pause because, like when kids feel the hair's coming out, they're going to try and get as much hair out. And I wanted to just do that naturally with a bit of a brushing every now and then.
Yeah.
It just depends on what we're trying to get across to the people, what we're trying to teach them. And I'll take a species that's, I also like to take something that I have a bit of fun with. I always like to have, I've got my favorites, unfortunately. He's probably one of them. He's just an easy snake to work with. And that's pretty much where it comes down to.
Thank you for bringing him today.
No worries.
And I'm sure we will at some point probably tackle another podcast. Unfortunately, we run out of time today, but there is so much to talk about in the work that you do. I mean, the number of species you work with is incredible that we could deep dive into one of them and discuss them in detail. But it's been really good to get to know you a bit better. And
Thank you so much for having us.
I'm excited about your new venture, and I'm
Thank you.
going to come check it out. It's too close to home to not
we're going to have
look
to.
at it.
We'll make you our head vet.
Thank you. You hold the snake end.
I'll take a sharp end, you take a smelly one. It's good.
Happy with that. Definitely. I'd rather that end. No, very cool. I know I'm very supportive of what you're doing, especially in terms of education. So
thank you so much.
So critical. So
Thank you.
Thanks guys, behind the scenes. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode on the Pause and Effect podcast. If you found the discussion helpful, please like, share, and follow our podcast. Don't forget to leave us a comment or review. We love hearing from our listeners. Remember, you can listen to us on your preferred podcast platform. Welcome back to Just for Pets. You're with Dr. Cara.
Hi, Doc. It's Jackson the Jack Rossi here, and boy, am I itchy.
Are you on a hypoallergenic diet?
Hyper what now?
Changing to a special diet will really help. And Just for Pets have a massive range. And flea and tick medication, special shampoo.
Ooh, how quick can you get some?
Order today and we'll deliver pronto.
I feel better already.
Justforpets.co.za. Vet approved, pet adored. Get it all to your door.